Right. Stefan had asked a question, super chat, shukran, much love for the super chat. Why was Ibn Taymiyyah in jail? Ibn Taymiyyah was in jail because really he had annoyed a lot of people, some of whom were powerful. Now, I'm not saying I agree that because I don't. I believe there should be religious freedoms. You know, you can't kind of persecute people over religious differences. But because Ibn Taymiyyah went around doing takfir on people, calling people kafirs and all of this, so you have to remember in that day and age, go back 600 years. You know, if you think today people are narrow-minded, can you imagine what they were thinking like 600 years ago? And you're calling people kafir, kafir, kafir. And Ibn Taymiyyah, like I've said before, he suffered, I feel, from like mental health issues. So he was obviously intelligent, and sometimes he was on the ball, but sometimes he'd kind of flip. Maybe he had like bipolar or something, but he would flip and turn very bitter and nasty towards Muslims for the most part. Call them kafirs, deviants, insult them, do all this kind of stuff. So you can imagine you would create a lot of enemies. Now you have to remember that most Muslims, now he was Hanbali, he would shield himself by saying, well, this is my Hanbali belief. I'm allowed to be Hanbali from Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So this would kind of protect him a bit. But you have to remember that Hanbalis are a tiny fraction of this ummah. They have always been a tiny fraction. They've never really, at most, they would be lucky to have been probably 5%. Your Hanbalis. Because most scholars never even recognize them as a madhab. But okay, later on they said, all right, fine, they're a madhab. But they've always been a tiny minority of this ummah. So the majority, why I'm saying that is so the majority of the people are going to be Ash'ari, they might be Sufi, they might be stuff like this. So if the majority of the people are like that, then the people of power are going to be from those people. So the judges were incredibly powerful people back then. They're not like judges today. The judge back then was like pretty much like a mayor of a council today. You know, the mayor that would be involved in local political affairs. They would be involved in these kind. They weren't just like today. A judge just presides over that particular genre of law. That's it. But in that day and age, they were much more involved in the community. So he was brought before several judges and on certain issues to do with aqidah, belief. But in the end, they imprisoned him over a stunt that his student had pulled. Guilty by association. And it was actually some of the Malikis that screwed him over in the end. And I don't agree with them screwing him over, even though they are fellow Malikis. But I'd be like, come on, Maliki, behave. So there was a judge called the Al-Ikhna'i and other people, these other Malikis, who said that his behavior was a crime. And what that was, you see, they used this same thing of like what Maulana Khadim Hussain Rizvi Saab using blasphemy. Allah, Allah. The famous, the go-to card for ulama. You blaspheme, huh? Those who blaspheme, not nice, Ulta latka do, ulta. So what had happened is Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, right? Who actually, these people are very intelligent. So for intelligent people, they do some dumb stuff sometimes. So this is an example of a dumb moment that Ibn Qayyim Saab has. Ibn Qayyim goes on a visit to Jerusalem. So he goes there, and whilst he's in Bayt al-Maqdis, he's in Masjid al-Aqsa, or Dome of the Rock, whichever one. He's in the masjid. He says, so they start speaking. Oh no, he's giving a speech. So they ask him, because he's a scholar, they say, can you give a khutbah? So he gets passionate in his khutbah. Ooh, he's getting passionate. Ooh, he's getting into it. Drums. Brr. And then he says, nobody should travel to any place. La tashuddu rihal. You should not travel anywhere except to these three mosques. And then he, in his passion, he says, here in Jerusalem, you have they claim that this is where Abraham was, and the rock is dedicated to Ibrahim alayhi salam, Khalil. And so he says that this maqam here, this kind of religious sanctuary for Abraham, I refuse to visit it. He says, even though I'm right here, I refuse to visit it. Why? Because it's equally impermissible to go to Medina to visit the Prophet. You can only go to Medina to visit the mosque. And to visit the Prophet is secondary. So it's, since you're there, you've kind of, now that you're here, you can visit the Prophet, but you can't go there with the intention to visit the Prophet. So if I'm not going to do that, then it would be hypocrisy to visit this place dedicated to Abraham. So this is what he said in his speech. He got a bit carried away, got a bit excited, blood's running, and he's like, he says, this is haram as well. So obviously people flipped. People are like, what the hell is this guy on about? They go, yeah, what the hell is this guy? This guy's disrespecting Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's disrespecting the Prophet. So Ibn Qayyim legged it from there anyway. He got away. They said, forget him. He's getting this from his teacher. Catch his teachers. So this was the pretext or the excuse based on which they imprisoned Ibn Taymiyyah. So they said, because that was Ibn Taymiyyah's fatwa, that you can't go to visit the Prophet. that it's haram to visit the Prophet. You can only visit the Prophet like coincidentally. That now, now that I'm here, blimey, I'm here now. So, I Ibn Taymiyyah. So this is what I mean. He had his, like kind of like dumb moments. So that's what they locked him up over. Although I disagree with locking people up and stuff like that, and I do feel his opinion is dumb, but I don't feel you can punish them over it. It's enough of a punishment, the fact that they have these dumb opinions. That's like life has beat you to it. They're already being punished. The fact that they've got dumb opinions. That said, he did have other good opinions and other good things, not to disregard him totally, but this was the reason he was locked up. Cool. Moving on.